If you're watching this right now, it isn't random. Something within you knew it was time. Time to stop running. Time to stop chasing what feels just out of reach. Time to understand why everything you've been doing to manifest your desires might be the very thing keeping them away. There's an ancient truth that contradicts nearly everything you've been taught about creation, about manifestation, about bringing your dreams into reality. And that truth is this: you don't manifest by pursuing. You manifest by releasing. The moment you stop gripping so tightly, the moment you stop checking for signs every hour, the moment you finally exhale and let the universe do what it has always been trying to do for you, that's when everything begins to shift. Not because you gave up, but because you finally understood. For most of your life, you've been taught that success requires effort, that achievement demands control, that if you want something badly enough, you must work harder, push further, grip tighter. And somewhere along the way, you learned to apply this same logic to manifestation. You learned that if you wanted love, abundance, healing, or purpose, you had to pursue it relentlessly. You had to visualize harder, affirm louder, check for signs constantly. You had to prove to the universe that you were serious, that you were committed, that you deserved what you were asking for. But what if I told you that this entire approach is built on a misunderstanding of how reality actually works? The ancient spiritual teachings, the ones that have survived thousands of years across cultures and continents, all point to the same essential truth. They tell us that the universe doesn't respond to your words. It doesn't respond to your pleading or your bargaining. It responds to your state, your internal frequency, the silent vibration you carry in your body, in your nervous system, in the depths of your being. When you're in a state of lack, when you're constantly checking your phone for that message, constantly refreshing your bank account, constantly wondering when it will finally happen, you're broadcasting a very clear signal. And that signal says, I don't have it yet. I'm separate from it. I'm waiting for it to come to me from somewhere outside of myself. And the universe, in its perfect intelligence, mirrors that state back to you. Not because it's punishing you, not because you're doing something wrong, but because it's designed to reflect what you truly believe about yourself and your relationship to what you desire. There's a mechanism at work here, invisible to the physical eye, but absolutely fundamental to how manifestation operates. It's the bridge between your inner world and your outer reality. And once you understand it, once you truly grasp how it functions, everything changes. The world you see around you is not separate from you. It never has been. Every circumstance, every relationship, every opportunity that appears or doesn't appear in your life is a reflection of the vibrational state you carry within. This isn't mysticism. This isn't wishful thinking. This is the fundamental architecture of reality itself. When you look into a mirror, the image you see isn't creating itself independently. It's showing you exactly what's standing in front of it, and your external world operates in precisely the same way. It shows you what you are broadcasting from the inside. When there's lack within you, when there's a feeling of emptiness or incompleteness, when there's a belief that something essential is missing, your reality reflects that lack back to you with perfect precision. And here's where the cycle begins. You notice the absence in your external world, the relationship that hasn't arrived, the opportunity that hasn't opened, the healing that hasn't manifested. And because you notice this absence, you begin to pursue it. You begin to chase it. You start doing more, thinking more, worrying more, checking more. And with every act of pursuing, with every moment of checking your phone hoping for that message, with every anxious thought about when it will finally happen, you're reinforcing the original vibration, the vibration of lack, the vibration of not having, the vibration that says, it's not here yet, and I need to go get it. This is the trap. Pursuit, by its very nature, confirms separation. When you chase something, you're affirming that it's distant from you, that it's outside of you, that you're here and it's over there. And somehow you have to bridge that gap through effort and control. But the universe doesn't register your effort. It doesn't care how hard you're trying, or how many vision boards you've made, or how many affirmations you've repeated. It only registers your state. And if your state is one of chasing, of needing, of feeling incomplete without the thing you desire, then that's the reality that gets reflected back to you over and over again. There's something almost cruel about how this works, and yet it's also perfectly intelligent. The more emotional charge you place on a desire, the more desperate energy you attach to it, the more resistance you create. It's as if the universe is saying, I can't give you what you think you need, because the very act of needing it pushes it away. This is the paradox that so few people understand. The things you want most desperately are often the things that take longest to arrive, not because the universe is withholding them, but because your desperation creates a vibrational barrier. Think about it. When you're anxiously waiting for something, what does that feel like in your body? There's tension. There's tightness in your chest, maybe in your throat. Your breath becomes shallow. Your mind races. You check your phone compulsively. You analyze every small event, looking for signs, for clues, for evidence that it's coming. And all of this activity, all of this mental and emotional striving, is rooted in one fundamental feeling. I don't have it yet. And as long as that feeling dominates your internal state, the universe continues to reflect it back to you. The universe doesn't respond to anxiety. It doesn't respond to fear or desperation or the frantic energy of someone who feels incomplete. It responds to certainty, to the quiet, unshakable knowing that exists beyond words, beyond thoughts, beyond the need for external proof. It responds to the person who has already received, even before the physical evidence appears. And that state, that silent certainty, is only possible when you stop chasing. There's a profound misunderstanding about what detachment actually means. Most people hear the word and immediately think it means giving up, walking away, becoming cold or indifferent to what they want, and so they resist it. They think, if I stop caring, if I stop wanting this, then I'm abandoning my dream, I'm betraying myself. But true detachment has nothing to do with indifference. It has nothing to do with shutting down your heart or pretending you don't care. True detachment is something far more intelligent, far more powerful than that. Detachment is the ability to want something deeply while simultaneously releasing your grip on how and when it arrives. It's the capacity to hold a vision in your heart without strangling it with fear. It's the wisdom to plant a seed and then trust the soil, trust the rain, trust the unseen intelligence that knows exactly how to bring that seed into full bloom. When you're truly detached, you're not passive. You're not sitting back doing nothing. You're living as if the thing you desire has already been given to you. You're embodying the state of someone who has received. And that state, that vibrational frequency, changes everything. This is what spiritual teachers have been pointing to for centuries. Not as a mental trick, not as a technique you perform for 10 minutes and then forget about, but as a state of being, a way of moving through life. When you act as though you've already received, when you carry yourself with that quiet confidence, that settled peace, your entire energy shifts. You stop broadcasting lack. You stop sending out the signal of desperation. And the universe, which has always been listening, finally has space to deliver what's been waiting for you all along. Neville Goddard understood this with remarkable clarity. He spoke about assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not imagining it as something far off in the future, not hoping for it to maybe happen someday, but feeling it as a present reality, feeling it in your body, feeling it in your bones, as if the thing you desire is not coming toward you, but has already arrived, and you are simply living inside that reality right now, in this moment. But here's what most people miss. This isn't a mental exercise. It's not about sitting down and forcing yourself to visualize for 20 minutes while your mind races with doubt and your body remains tense with anxiety. It's about dropping into a state so naturally, so effortlessly, that it becomes who you are. It's about the moment when you stop trying to convince yourself and you simply know. When the knowing is so quiet, so still, that there's nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase, nothing left to worry about. Because in that state, you've already received. And you'll know when you've touched true detachment, because something in your body will shift. There's a physical release that happens. Your shoulders drop, your jaw unclenches, your breath deepens and slows. The constant hum of anxiety that's been running in the background of your awareness suddenly quiets. And in its place, there's peace. Not the peace of someone who has given up, but the peace of someone who finally understands that the universe is not withholding anything, that everything you need is already on its way, that your only job now is to get out of the way and let it come. This is the relief you've been searching for, not in the external result, Not in finally seeing the evidence appear, but in the internal shift that happens the moment you stop gripping, the moment you stop checking, the moment you exhale and say, without words, without force, it's already mine. And your body believes you, your nervous system believes you, and the field around you rearranges itself to match that belief. In almost every area of life, you've been conditioned to believe that more effort equals faster results. That if something isn't working, you simply need to try harder, push more, do more, control more. And this belief has served you in certain contexts. It's helped you build skills, complete projects, achieve goals that require physical action and sustained discipline. But when it comes to manifestation, when it comes to the invisible realm where energy and consciousness interact with the fabric of reality itself, this logic completely reverses. More effort doesn't accelerate the process. It blocks it. Because manifestation doesn't operate through force. It operates through alignment, through resonance, through the harmonious matching of your internal state with the frequency of what you desire. And force, by its very nature, creates tension. It creates resistance. It creates a kind of energetic friction that prevents the natural flow from occurring. When you're gripping too tightly, when you're trying to control every detail, when you're obsessively managing and micromanaging the process, you're essentially telling the universe, I don't trust you. I need to do this myself. And in that moment, you cut yourself off from the very intelligence that was trying to help. Control feels productive. It feels like you're doing something. It gives your mind a sense of safety, a sense of agency. But in the realm of manifestation, control is the enemy of receiving, because receiving requires openness. It requires space. It requires a willingness to let life unfold in ways you might not have predicted, through doors you didn't even know existed. And when you're clenched, when you're rigid, when you're forcing, there's no space for the unexpected miracle. There's no room for the universe to surprise you with something even better than what you imagined. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze your fingers together, the more it slips through. But when you relax your grip, when you allow your palms to soften and curve gently, the water stays. It rests there, calm and still. This is how manifestation works. The tighter you grip, the more it eludes you. The more you relax, the more naturally it comes. Or think of planting a seed in the earth. You place it gently into the soil. You water it. You trust the process. And then you walk away. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You don't stand over it, anxiously measuring its progress, demanding that it sprout faster. Because you understand that growth has its own intelligence, its own timing. And your interference, no matter how well-intentioned, would only damage the delicate process unfolding beneath the surface. Or imagine baking something in the oven. You mix the ingredients, you set the temperature, you place it inside, and then you close the door. You don't open it every 5 minutes to check if it's done. Because every time you open that door, you let the heat escape. You disrupt the environment. You slow down the very process you're trying to accelerate. Manifestation requires the same trust, the same patience, the same willingness to let the heat build, let the alchemy happen, without constantly interfering. There's a phase in every manifestation that almost no one talks about. A phase that feels like nothing is happening, like the universe has gone silent, like all your efforts, all your faith, all your alignment has led to absolutely nowhere. You've done everything right. You've released. You've surrendered. You've embodied the feeling of already having what you desire. And yet, when you look at your external reality, nothing has changed. The evidence hasn't appeared. The physical proof is still absent. And in that space, doubt begins to creep in. Fear whispers that maybe it's not working. Maybe you did something wrong. Maybe you're not worthy after all. But this period, this seemingly empty interval between your internal shift and the external manifestation, is not a void. It's not a sign that you've failed or that the universe has abandoned you. It's a sacred space, a stabilization period. Your internal state has changed. Your frequency has shifted. But the external world, the physical reality that moves more slowly than consciousness, needs time to catch up, needs time to rearrange itself, needs time to align all the people, circumstances, and events that must come together for your desire to materialize in form. This is not punishment. This is not the universe testing whether you're serious or whether you truly believe. This is simply how energy moves into matter. There's always a gap, always a gestation period, always a space where faith must hold you because evidence cannot. And the question is not whether this space exists, because it always does. The question is, what will you do while you're in it? Will you collapse back into doubt? Will you return to the old patterns of checking and chasing and desperately searching for signs? Or will you hold the state? Will you trust the invisible intelligence that's working on your behalf, even when you can't see it? The most dangerous thing you can do during this interval is seek proof. Because the moment you start looking for signs, the moment you start checking to see if it's working, you've already dropped out of the state. You've already returned to the vibration of lack, of not having, of needing external validation to believe what you claimed to know internally. And every time you check, every time you anxiously scan your reality for evidence, you reset the process. You send a mixed signal to the field. You say with your actions, I don't actually believe it's mine. I'm still waiting. I'm still separate from it. This is why so many people get stuck in loops. They do the work. They align. They feel the shift. And then, within hours or days, they panic. They look around and see that nothing has changed yet, and that panic pulls them right back into the old frequency. And the universe, perfectly neutral, perfectly responsive, simply reflects that frequency back to them, not because it's cruel, but because it has no choice. It can only give you what matches your state. And if your state keeps oscillating between faith and fear, between knowing and doubting, your external reality will oscillate right along with it. But here's what you need to understand. Even during this interval, even when the big manifestation hasn't appeared yet, there are signals, small, subtle, almost imperceptible shifts that let you know you're on the right path. A synchronicity that feels too perfect to be random. A conversation that comes out of nowhere and opens a door you didn't even know existed. A feeling in your body, a sense of lightness, of expansion, of knowing that something has fundamentally changed, even if you can't explain how or why. These aren't the loud, obvious signs your mind is looking for. They're whispers. They're gentle confirmations from the universe that says, I hear you, I'm working, trust me. And the more you notice these small signals, without demanding that they prove anything, the more they multiply, the more the universe can communicate with you in the language of synchronicity and flow. Because you're no longer gripping, you're no longer demanding, you're simply aware, simply present, simply open to the magic that's quietly unfolding all around you. You've been looking for the wrong sign. You've been waiting for the external evidence to appear so you can finally relax, finally breathe, finally know that it worked. But the true sign that your manifestation is complete doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. It's the peace that settles into your bones before anything in your physical reality has changed. It's the deep, unshakable serenity that exists independent of circumstances, independent of whether the money has arrived yet, independent of whether the relationship has materialized, independent of whether the healing has shown up in the doctor's report. This peace is not the result of manifestation. This peace is the manifestation. Because when you're truly aligned, when you've genuinely stepped into the state of having received, there's no anxiety left. There's no urgency. There's no frantic energy scanning the horizon for proof. There's just this quiet, settled knowing. This sense of completion that doesn't need validation. And it feels like relief, like coming home after a long journey, like finally putting down a weight you didn't even realize you'd been carrying. Your nervous system relaxes. Your mind stops racing. Your body releases tension you've held for months, maybe years. And in that release, you know, not because someone told you, not because you read it somewhere, but because every cell in your being has dropped into a frequency of trust so profound that doubt can no longer find a foothold. This is what people miss when they're focused entirely on the external. They think the peace will come after the thing arrives. They think they'll finally be able to relax once they see the evidence. But it works in reverse. The peace comes first, the internal shift happens first, and the external reality follows. Not always immediately, not always in the timeline your mind would prefer, but always, because the universe has no choice but to reflect what you truly embody. And when you embody peace, when you embody completion, when you embody the state of already having, the physical manifestation is simply a matter of time. And you'll know you've reached this state when time stops being an issue, when you stop counting the days, when you stop checking the calendar and calculating how long it's been since you started this process, when the question of when will it happen no longer occupies space in your mind because the answer has become irrelevant, not because you've given up, not because you've stopped caring, but because you're already living in the feeling of it. You're already complete. And when something is already yours, when it's already woven into the fabric of who you are, the timing of its physical appearance becomes almost secondary. This is the moment when everything accelerates, because the resistance has finally fallen away. The energetic blockage that was created by your constant checking, your constant worrying, your constant need to know when, has dissolved. And without that resistance, without that friction, the universe can move freely. It can orchestrate. It can align. It can bring together all the elements that need to converge for your desire to manifest in physical form. And often, when you reach this state of genuine detachment, when you've truly let go of the timeline, that's when it appears, almost as if the universe was waiting for you to stop gripping before it could deliver what was yours all along. The paradox is complete. You had to stop needing it to arrive quickly in order for it to arrive at all. You had to release your attachment to when, in order to collapse the distance between now and then, you had to become so present, so anchored in this moment, that the future lost its power over you. And in that surrender, in that beautiful, liberating surrender, the future came rushing toward you, not because you chased it, but because you finally made space for it to land. There's a simple phrase that can anchor you back into alignment whenever you feel yourself slipping into doubt or urgency. Just 3 words. 3 words that carry the entire frequency of completion, of certainty, of already having received. You don't say them out loud. You don't shout them to the universe as if trying to convince some distant force. You whisper them internally, quietly, like a truth your soul has always known. Already mine. That's it. Already mine. Not, it will be mine someday. Not, I hope it becomes mine, but already mine. Present tense. Complete, done. And when you say these words, when you let them settle into your chest, into your belly, into the quiet space behind your thoughts, something shifts. Your body begins to believe you. Your nervous system begins to relax into that reality, because the body doesn't know the difference between what's physically present and what you're emanating as truth from within. It only knows the frequency you're broadcasting. And when you claim, with quiet authority, that something is already yours, your entire being begins to reorganize itself around that truth, not as a hope, not as a wish, but as a fact that exists beyond the need for external confirmation. You can return to this phrase throughout your day, in the morning when you wake, in the evening before you sleep, in the moments when doubt tries to creep back in and whisper that maybe you're fooling yourself. You don't argue with the doubt. You don't fight it. You simply return to the truth, already mine, and you let that truth be bigger than the fear. Let it be deeper than the anxiety. Let it hold you when the external world hasn't caught up yet. Because this phrase isn't trying to convince the universe of anything. It's reminding you of what's already been set in motion, what's already been given, what's already yours, waiting only for you to stop blocking it with your frantic need to see it now. One of the most powerful things you can do when you feel yourself obsessing over your manifestation is to redirect your attention completely, not as a form of distraction, not as a way to avoid or deny what you want, but as a way to rest your energy field, to give your nervous system a break from the constant surveillance, to allow the universe space to work without you hovering over it like an anxious parent watching a child learn to walk. When you find yourself checking your phone for the 10th time today, hoping for a message that will confirm your desire is on its way, stop, gently, without judgment, and redirect. Cook something with your full attention. Feel the textures, smell the ingredients. Be completely present with the knife in your hand, the sound of oil in the pan, the warmth of the stove. Walk outside without headphones, without distractions, and let yourself notice the details you usually miss. The way light moves through leaves, the rhythm of your own breath, the feeling of your feet making contact with the ground. Pick up an instrument, even if you're not skilled. Let your fingers find sounds without trying to perform or perfect. Tend to a plant, water it, wipe its leaves, sit near it, feel the simple, quiet exchange of life tending to life. These aren't random activities, they're rituals of presence. They're ways of pulling your energy back from the future, back from the desperate need to know when and how and if. They ground you in the now. They return you to your body. They give your field a chance to settle, to stop broadcasting that anxious frequency, to come back into coherence. And in that coherence, in that settled state, you become a clearer channel, a more receptive vessel, not because you're trying harder, but because you finally stopped trying at all. There's another practice that can deepen your alignment in a way that goes beyond mental affirmations or visualization. It's the practice of writing from the state of already having, not writing about what you want, not listing your desires or explaining why you deserve them, but writing as if you're already living inside the reality you've been seeking, writing in present tense, writing with detail, writing with the kind of sensory richness that makes the experience feel real in your body as you're putting the words on the page. You might write about your morning routine in this new reality, what you see when you open your eyes, how the light comes through the window, what the sheets feel like, who's beside you if anyone, what you eat for breakfast, what conversations you have, what emotions move through you as you go about your day. The more specific you are, the more your nervous system believes this is happening now. Not someday, not in some distant future, but now. And as your body begins to resonate with that frequency, as it begins to live inside that feeling, something remarkable occurs. You stop waiting, you stop longing, you stop living in the energy of separation, because in those moments of writing, you are there, you are living it, you are complete. This isn't about fooling yourself or creating a fantasy that distracts you from reality. This is about training your entire being to match the frequency of what you desire so completely that there's no gap left, no space between who you are now and who you'll be when it arrives. And when that gap closes, when your internal state and your desired reality become one, the external manifestation is inevitable, not because you forced it, but because you became it. 9. Conclusão, fechamento, reflexivo. Everything you've been searching for has always been closer than you thought, not distant, not withheld, not waiting for you to prove yourself worthy through more effort, more struggle, more desperate grasping. It's been here all along, hovering just beyond the edge of your awareness, waiting for one thing, waiting for you to stop running, to stop chasing, to stop frantically scanning the horizon for signs that it's coming. Because the act of chasing, the energy of pursuit, the frequency of need, creates the very distance you're trying to close. And the moment you release that grip, the moment you exhale and let yourself rest in the knowing that it's already yours, everything shifts. The power was never in the asking. It was never in the begging or the bargaining or the endless mental loops of trying to figure out how to make it happen faster. The power is in the allowing, in the surrender, in the quiet, settled peace that says, I've already received. I'm already complete. I don't need to prove anything to anyone, not even to myself. And when you live from that place, when you embody that frequency, the universe stops reflecting your lack back to you. It stops mirroring your anxiety, your doubt, your desperate need for validation. Instead, it begins to reflect your wholeness, your certainty, your alignment with the truth that you are not separate from what you desire. You never were. The universe finds you when you stop running. It delivers when you stop demanding. It responds when you stop broadcasting the signal of incompleteness and begin to rest in the state of already having. Not because you tricked it, not because you performed some technique perfectly, but because you finally understood the fundamental law. You are not waiting for something outside of yourself to complete you. You are already whole, already abundant, already held by an intelligence far greater than your mind can comprehend. And everything you've been seeking is simply making its way to you, rearranging circumstances, aligning people and events, preparing to land in your physical reality the moment you create the space for it to arrive. So here's the question I'll leave with you. What if everything you've been longing for is already on its way? What if it's been moving toward you all this time, but couldn't land because you were too tightly wound, too anxiously waiting, too convinced that it wasn't coming? What if the only thing standing between you and your desire is your own resistance, your own need to control the timing, your own inability to trust that the universe is always working in your favor? And what if, right now, in this very moment, you could release all of that? What if you could let it go, breathe deeply, and simply say, "It's already mine"? What would happen then? What would shift in your body, in your energy, in your reality, if you truly believed that? Not someday, not eventually, but now, already, complete. If this message resonated with something deep inside you, if you felt a shift as you listened, even a small one, there's a way to anchor that shift into your reality right. In the comments below, write these 5 words. I receive in perfect time, not as a plea, not as a question, but as a statement of truth, a declaration that you're no longer fighting the process, no longer demanding that it happen according to your timeline, but trusting that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. When you write those words, you're not just leaving a comment, you're making a vibrational commitment. You're telling the universe, and more importantly, you're telling yourself that you're ready to release the grip, ready to stop chasing, ready to allow what's already yours to finally arrive. And if you're truly ready to embody this shift, choose one of the practices we explored today, just one: the silent affirmation, the redirection of attention, the state journal, whichever one called to you most strongly, and bring it into your life today, not tomorrow, not when you feel more motivated or more prepared, today. Because transformation doesn't happen in the thinking about it, it happens in the doing, in the moment when you stop consuming information and start living it. Start noticing what happens inside you when you practice. Notice the subtle shifts in your body, in your breath, in the quality of your thoughts. Notice how differently the day feels when you're no longer locked in that anxious loop of checking and waiting. Because the external change will come, but the internal change, the shift in your state, that's what matters most. That's what makes everything else possible. If someone in your life is struggling right now, if you know someone who's trapped in that cycle of desperate pursuit, someone who's exhausted from trying so hard and seeing so little result, share this video with them, not as a way to fix them, not as unsolicited advice, but as an offering, as a quiet reminder that there's another way, that the answer isn't more effort, it's more surrender, it's more trust. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do for someone we care about is simply show them a doorway they didn't know existed, and this might be that doorway for them. The moment when everything finally starts to make sense. And if you want to continue this journey, if you want to keep exploring the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern understanding, the place where science and spirituality meet, subscribe to this channel. Because this conversation doesn't end here. There's so much more to discover about how consciousness shapes reality, about how your internal state creates your external world, about how the field responds to the frequency you carry. This is just the beginning, and every video we create is designed to guide you deeper into that alignment, deeper into that peace, deeper into the truth that you are far more powerful than you've been taught to believe. So stay, keep listening, keep learning, keep unfolding into the fullness of who you really are.